Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to week 8. We are zipping through. We're halfway through the semester, which is great. And we've already covered 3 world religions. The Abrahamic religions are checked. Hopefully, you have a better idea of those. I think from your interviews, a lot of people or introductions, it seemed like everyone was relatively familiar with, Christianity, Judaism, and now Islam. So hopefully, you can kind of see the similarities and differences amongst those and how they became world religions, right? How they kind of and that's what this class is, and that's kind of what quiz 1 was. Just kind of to kind of get an idea of Abrahamic religions, that part of the world, geography, know where Mecca is, Jerusalem, Rome, these kind of Stonehenge, and then some matching and fill in the blank. Sorry, the Kaaba. I've been using a Hawaiian keyboard, and I think I put in the Okina instead of the quote mark, so that's why that was all marked. But I went back and fixed it too. If I did miss one of those, if you got them right and I didn't get it right, then just let me. I did fix all the fill in the blanks. Matching was pretty. Hopefully that made pretty good sense. I was trying to get kind of a sense of what these texts are. And then the last one, the function and substance of religion, that was kind of a more reflective. What I was really looking for there is how can you take what you learn and apply it, right? So that's why I was like, give me examples from the course material in your answer. So if you did that, great. Actually gave examples. If you look sort of in the student resources, examples from the quiz. These are student responses from this course from this test that I thought were exemplified what I was looking for. But really, yeah, the idea is how can you then give specifics? If it was really vague, just sort of like religion, the function of religion is answer these questions, but you didn't really use what we learned. You lost points. I was really looking for what how do we apply it there? Or if you just like some people just like summarize that little section of the textbook. Well, we've been here for 7 weeks, right? So how can we? That's what I'm looking for. So the ideas on these quizzes and things is show me what you've learned, right? So I made notes on that. You can look at the examples there. If you have any questions on my comments, feel free to ask me for that. Yeah, and then this week we're switching to Abrahamic religion is done. Now we're looking at sort of South Asian religions, which the Vedas and Upanishads will spur 2 major world religions, Hinduism and Buddhism. That's why this week we're kind of laying the groundwork for that. Where do these ideas come from? Because as we'll see over the next few weeks, they're gonna come up in 2 different ways. But the baselines of these are from the Vedas and then later Upanishads. So the lectures talk about who are these Vedas, where do they come from, who are the Indo-Aryans, what is Sanskrit, how that all interplays with the history of the settlement of the Indo-Aryans, these Indo-European groups who spoke a language that is Sanskrit is similar to Latin, and then that makes Hindi similar to English. I gave that nice picture of the Indo-European family tree, linguistic tree. There's a little bit of history. Again, with these world religions, kind of need to know where they're from and why they're there. Then we looked at what are the Vedas, these hymns, or there's songs to be sung. I tried to give in the practice section. I tried to give examples of modern day Vedic ceremonies because it is today. They still do these Vedic ceremonies. There's still Brahmins around who memorize the Vedas, recite them, and the idea is you got to recite them exactly the way they were for them to work. A lot of offerings as into the fire, as we mentioned, and is shown that the offerings then are brought up by Agni to the other gods, and if everything goes smoothly, things will go well. If not, the gods will be angry, and you've upset things. So. Yeah, so the Vedas we talked about in hymns, gave some examples of the Vedas that you can read about. And then after that, sort of the end of the Vedas, as these Indo-Aryans were settling and mixing in with probably people from the Indus into civilization and maybe some other groups that lived in South Asia, right? There was like, okay, what does this really mean? What's the underlying, how do we... The Vedic hymns, there's no real like systemic idea of what the world came from or what are the major points of it. It's sort of a lot of different ideas. The Upanishads tried to kind of distill that. That's where they come up with this idea of the yuga system. 4 yugas, a cyclical time, and then 4 key concepts of Brahma, Atman, moksha, samsara, karma, dharma, and we'll see and that's kind of where this comes from. These are important to understand because understanding these will then help us get to Hinduism and then ultimately Buddhism as well. So that's kind of the major ideas there. The discussion post, this is sort of like creative fiction, so have fun with it. Um, Go over the lectures and just kind of think about, put yourself in this, that you can either be a Brahmin, this is your first Vedic ceremony, so explain how that is based on the course materials again, or you can be a trader in more settled Upanishadic world and explain why you're doing this, why you would call this, how you would make that work, and what how that fits into your more spiritual world journey. So, and hopefully all the lectures and will be enough to you can reflect on that and apply it, come up with your own worldview. Right. So great. So that's it. I think that's it. The last thing I want to talk about. We are halfway through the semester. And so, at Hawaii Community College, we're trying to implement this Ka'au framework, right? This idea that, Ka'au being a story, that Hawaii Community College isn't just college, take these classes, get done with it. That ideally this will be a chapter, this in your larger, story of your existence, samsara, if you will. Now that we're into religion talk, but how is this? So so now since we're halfway through, maybe we can reflect on a little bit. Right, we're in the Huaka'i section of the Ka'au. So we're on this journey. Hopefully it's been relatively smooth sailing for these last 8 weeks, and we have 8 weeks to go. So, but there's 3 things I want you to kind of think about and consider. Again, these are just for you, sort of zooming out, just to think. You don't have to turn these in by any means, and they're in the Ka'au section in the student resources. The first one is the Hua. Maybe reflect back to 8 weeks ago. What was that motivation? What was that Hua? And is that still remain? Are you still on that path? Or has that been modified a little bit over these last 8 weeks? So it's good to kind of keep that in mind. But then the Huakai, the journey. One thing I want you to think about is, what have you done? What's one accomplishment that you've made? It could be in this class. It could be in another class. It could be completely outside of school in general. I think it's always important. Sometimes we forget to pat ourselves on the back. You've done a lot in the last 8 weeks. We all have. We all have accomplishments. So take a quick second and just think back. What have you done? Right? Get rid of all the things that you should have done or you haven't done. But what have you done? What's some things you can be proud of? Right? Because that's always important. What have you done here? And then in that sort of same realm, now that you can kind of have a handle over the semester and your time and your management and how everything fits together, what do you need to do to be successful for the next 8 weeks, right? Is there, what kind of, what is one thing that you can focus on that if I do this, it'll help me achieve my goal? So again, you don't need to turn it into me. Just set a timer for 3 minutes, think about these things, maybe jot them down, but idea is try to make this learning experience a little more holistic and embedded into this larger framework. So that's it. Have a good rest of your week.